Every teenager looks forward to attending their prom. They'll do anything to make it an unforgettable night. And for some, that doesn't stop at murder. Number 1. The Pelle Family. In 1989, Jeff Pelle was taking his girlfriend, Darla, to prom. On their way to the dance, he told Darla he had a strange feeling like something bad had happened at his house. Those who heard him say it could never have guessed how true it was. The next morning was a Sunday, and Jeff's father, a preacher, didn't show up at church, nor did the rest of his family. One member of the congregation walked over to the Pelle home to see if all was okay, but the shades were drawn on all the windows, the doors were locked, and no one was coming to the door. The curious church guest tracked down a spare key and let himself in. It was then he discovered the children scattered at the foot of the stairway, leading to so much blood he couldn't bring himself to take another step. Detectives continued where the man left off and found that the preacher had been shot at close range 2 times in the head with a shotgun. The pastor's wife, Dawn, her 2 daughters, 8 and 6 years old, had also been shot. There was no evidence of burglary or robbery, and the house was locked from the inside, quickly proving someone from the inside must have been responsible. The preacher had children from a previous marriage, and they all were out of the house that night and unharmed. Jeff had been at prom, and Jackie, 14, had been at a sleepover. Jeff denied having any involvement, though he freely admitted no one really cared for his stepmom. It later came out Jeff had been especially annoyed with both his dad and stepmother because they told him he couldn't go to prom. According to him, they only decided that week that he was allowed to attend. Friends of the family doubted the preacher and Dawn would have just changed their minds. Regardless, there was little evidence to support the detective's belief that he was guilty. In fact, it would take 13 years to finally charge him. By the time he was convicted of murder and sentenced to 160 years, he was married with children and living in another state. Number 2. Adam Sabic Aus Key. In April 2005, Adam just wanted to go to prom in his hometown of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. He got into an argument with his parents over his grades and his girlfriend. Unable to handle the rage he was feeling, Adam grabbed a single-shot shotgun and shot his father 3 times and his mother twice. Keep in mind that because this was a single-shot style gun, he had to reload after each shot. After killing his parents, he dragged their bodies behind a barricaded door and cleaned up. He then went to his prom and eventually returned to the house with friends for an after-party. A few friends complained that they smelled something bad, but Adam said there was some spoiled food in the fridge. He would spend the next 2 weeks staying at his house and splitting his time by staying at a hotel. By now, people were obviously wondering why they hadn't seen his parents. Police were finally called from a concerned friend, and they found the bodies wrapped in blankets at the door where he had originally dragged them. He was sentenced to 50.5 years. Number 3. Lynn Cosman. Lynn was 17 when she attended her prom in California. On June 1, 1991, she, her boyfriend, and many of her friends went to a hotel in Anaheim where they had rented a few rooms. One member of the party was Paul Michael Crowder, a 19-year-old dropout. He was there to act as a bodyguard for one of the girls who didn't want her ex showing up and causing problems. This bodyguard was sporting a visible gun on his belt, which made many people uncomfortable. He took the bullets out and put them on a table, but later they disappeared. He was drinking heavily and waving the now loaded gun around and threatening people. Eventually, he began threatening individuals who were insulting him. He began blindly firing the gun. Unbeknownst to him and the rest of the group, the bullet had hit Lynn in the head. He claimed it was an accident, but was sentenced to 19 to life for second-degree murder. Number 4. Catherine Lynn Shoberg. On June 7, 1974, Catherine Lynn Shoberg was at her prom in Wisconsin with her boyfriend. Around 3 in the morning, the couple got into an argument, and she walked outside to get some air. She never came back into the dance, nor was she ever seen again. At 16, she had seemingly vanished into thin air. The police first looked toward her boyfriend as a suspect, but after passing 3 polygraph tests, they no longer bothered. The second suspect was a man who had already been involved in the murders of 2 teenagers. They had been leaving the same venue as Shoberg and had been later found in a forest. In 2009, DNA evidence linked the murders of those 2 to Edward Wayne Edwards, a drifter connected to 5 other murders. Some believe he may even have been the Zodiac killer. Edwards died in 2011, leaving his body count to be an unsolved mystery. It's believed he didn't kill Shoberg since he was in another area at the time. The case has since gone cold. Number 5. Christopher Flaxen. Christopher Flaxen asked Marin Sanchez to go to prom with him. Sounds basic enough. Unfortunately for Christopher, Marin had a boyfriend and they were already going to prom together. The rejection was more than 16-year-old Christopher could handle. He later brought a kitchen knife from his house to the high school and used it to stab Marin to death in the neck, face, and chest.